Well, good evening from Golden One Center. Kevin John here from ABC 10. I will be joined by my co-host Matt George shortly. He's currently in Doug Christie's pregame press conference right now, so he'll join me shortly. But needless to say, a big game here tonight. This is one of the most highly anticipated games I can remember ever since I started covering the Kings about 4 years ago. Of course, De'Aaron Fox makes his return here to Sacramento as a member of the San Antonio Spurs. Believe it or not, it was just a few weeks ago when Fox was donning a Kings uniform. But of course, right before the trade deadline, he was sent to San Antonio in a 3-team trade. So Fox, happy to be back in Sacramento. We actually had a chance to hang out with him earlier today during shoot-around. He was all smiles and good spirits, and overall in a good mood. Seems like he was in a great place to be here. But of course, Sacramento Kings fans, for better or for worse, we don't know how they're going to receive De'Aaron Fox. Of course, this was a man who has played the first 7.5 years of his NBA career here in the capital city. And in that time, De'Aaron Fox gave his all. You could say whatever you want to say about De'Aaron Fox, but the one thing you can't deny is that this man gave his blood, sweat, tears, broken fingers to this franchise in order to elevate them and get them to the level that he would like to be at. He is also one of the most decorated franchise players in history. And while we're talking about decorated players, we're going to bring in a decorated host from ABC 10. You listen to him on the Locked On Kings podcast. You tune into the Locked On Kings podcast. You see him on ABC 10 as well. Thrilled to be joined by my partner and co-host, Matt George, who is fresh out of Doug Christie's pregame press conference. What's up, Matt?
Hey, how's it going? I know you weren't talking about decorated player when you're talking about me, because I sure as heck can't play this game, but we can talk about it. There's plenty to talk about tonight with De'Aaron Fox's return and Harrison Barnes' return and Jordan McLaughlin's return. But of course, everybody's talking about Fox tonight.
Of course, and I'm glad you pointed out Harrison Barnes. He was actually just over here.
I just said hi to him.
Yeah, okay. Well, you just said hi to him as well, but, you know, it was fun to see Harrison greet all of the Kings employees here, come over, talk to them, just shoot the fun with them back and forth. And that was just the kind of person that Harrison Barnes was to this franchise. He was an exemplary leader, always, carried himself with dignity, never heard any off-the-court issues about Harrison Barnes. He's one of those people that you could say are positive influences in the locker room.
Well, Harrison and I actually share kind of a unique thing. Harrison's daughter and my son were born on the exact same day. The exact same day.
Wow.
So we've always kind of had that and shared that, so I just checked in with him to see how his little one's doing. But Harrison is an awesome person. He's missed around this organization for the great leader he was in the locker room and in the community. I mean, he and his wife, Brittany, my wife's also named Brittany, they were always involved in the community in some aspect. So he's awesome, and I think he's someone that was really important for De'Aaron Fox when De'Aaron was traded, right? Everybody knows everybody in this league, but to have such a friendly face. Fox and Barnes were the two longest tenured Kings in Sacramento before both of them were traded away. So to have that reuniting together in San Antonio, I'm sure that made life a little bit easier for Fox.
So let me get this. You and Harrison Barnes' child were born on the same day.
Yes.
His wife is Britt. Your wife's name is Britt.
Yes.
Does that mean you're invited to the cookout?
Nope.
Okay. Well, it's worth an ask anyway. But with that being said, it's real interesting that you talked about just his influence and who Harrison is as a person and what he was to this franchise and organization. Because while, yes, Harrison may not have broken several franchise records or put up gaudy stats, the one thing about Harrison was he was consistent. I believe, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe in the amount of time that he was here, he was one of the only Kings players that started 82 games, I think 2 out of the years that he was here or something. So he was a very durable guy as well throughout his tenure here in Sacramento. So, definitely is someone who the Kings fans think fondly of.
Yeah, reliability is the best ability, right? Yeah. You hear that cliche all the time. Harrison was one of those guys, and while De'Aaron Fox didn't play all 82 games, De'Aaron Fox was a very reliable guy as well. I remember when De'Aaron Fox here in Sacramento suffered a grade 3 ankle sprain. That's like the worst you could possibly have. That's like on the edge of tearing something or really, truly damaging. You're usually out for a long period of time. De'Aaron did what he could that year to fight back, returned early. Now, he was never quite the same that year because of the injury that itself. And Fox has consistently played through injuries throughout his entire career. In fact, He's playing through an injury right now. He needs to have surgery on one of his fingers on his shooting hand. He's been dealing with it all season in Sacramento. He's now dealing with it in San Antonio. But you best believe that De'Aaron was not going to miss the opportunity to play this game here tonight, to return to Sacramento in front of a fan base that may be welcoming, maybe a little bit hostile. It's unfortunate, too, that he's not going to be able to play against his best friend in Malik Monk, who is out for the second straight game tonight with a toe sprain, and then Domantas Sabonis out with a hamstring injury. So Fox won't be playing his two main guys that he had here in Sacramento tonight, but still Fox has returned to the Golden One Center. I'm expecting it to be special and for there to be some fireworks as well.
I think the one thing that it will definitely be is emotional.
Yeah.
Whether that's angry or anger, whether that's joy, whether that's excitement, whether that's nostalgia, there will definitely be a high level of emotion in this arena. And I'm glad you referenced the fans, because while we can talk until we're black and blue in the face about how fans may feel about him or how fans may receive him, the one thing you can't deny is every time that man stepped on the floor here in a Kings uniform, he was not only clutch, but he was somebody out there that was a floor general, a leader, and, holds a lot of franchise records. It was just, 3 months ago where he pulled in 60 inside this gym, or 4 months ago? So this is somebody who, love or hate him, when he had that Kings jersey on, he went to war with a broken finger, through blood, sweat, tears, broken fingers, limbs, ankle sprains, the whole nine. So while, yes, we don't know how the fans are going to receive him, we got a little taste of that a couple of weeks ago when the Kings put him on the big Jumbotron here when they were advertising their next –
I got you.
Thank you. Matt looking out for me. Shoot it, Matt.
Oh, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. You don't want Matt to embarrass himself. But, see, that's the thing, guys. We're doing this live on the court. You never know when we're going to get hit with balls or people are going to run into us. It's part of doing a show right here on the court. But anyway, as I was saying, De'Aaron Fox, he played hard while he was here. And granted, things did get a little interesting with his departure, or trade, shall I say. I truly think that overall most Kings fans do appreciate what Fox did for this organization during his 7.5 years playing here.
All right, well, let's dive into this, okay? Because one of the things you said, when De'Aaron Fox would take the floor, the one thing he did do is he put on for this city. And De'Aaron Fox was very consistent about one thing throughout this entire saga that's played out. He wanted to stay here in Sacramento. Now, Kings fans might be watching this right now and hear that and might roll their eyes at it, because the way it ended, yes, De'Aaron Fox eventually did get to a point where he was ready to move on. But you have to understand there were a lot of specific circumstances that happened to get him to that point, right? And one of the most meaningful ones, one of the most prominent ones, was the firing of Mike Brown. You got to think about it. De'Aaron Fox spent his entire career to this point in Sacramento. Over that point in time, he had 5 different head coaches in 8 years, right? That's not a sign of stability. And if you are looking to sign your prime years of your career now, De'Aaron Fox is entering the best years, or he's not entering, he's in now the best years of his career. He's in that high 20s, that 20s. Yes, this is his prime, right? So the hesitation with Fox was always, outside of the maximum money that he could earn, the hesitation with Fox was always, do I want to commit my prime years to this organization when I don't know how stable this organization is going to be? And with the exception of kind of a year and a half, for the most part, his time here in Sacramento has been rough. Now, he's not blameless for that. If you're the leader, you're the star, you're the guy that's looked at first and foremost. Of course, he requires a couple of years as a young player to get acclimated. A year like this, there were disappointments. De'Aaron Fox is certainly responsible for that. But we got to this point because of a lot of factors. There were questions about how much De'Aaron really cared at times on the floor. That's fair to question. There were questions about this front office doing what was necessary to get him and Mike Brown the pieces that they needed to be successful. The Kings made the playoffs 2 years ago, 2023 playoffs. This team had all the momentum in the world, right? We were all looking at the Sacramento Kings as this next upstart team. They had this young core. Domantas Sabonis was about to sign a new contract extension. They took the Golden State Warriors, who were the defending champions at the time, to the absolute limit. You have all this momentum. The beam is dawned. Sacramento is on the map. And then for nearly 2 years after that, you didn't do anything to improve. right? And that was one of the issues that De'Aaron Fox had. He's calling for these, hey, while he got a lot of talent, and believe me, the Sacramento Kings have had more talent in the last couple of years than they've had in 20 years, right? While he did have a lot of talent, De'Aaron dealt with the shortcomings of this roster that we all saw for years. Issues with size, issues with length, issues with athleticism. There was a very easy way to beat the Sacramento Kings. It's go big, have length. And the Kings were very small, typically undersized at almost every position. They struggle with that. De'Aaron was asking that for be addressed. Mike Brown was asking for that to be addressed. It never was. And then De'Aaron told the Sacramento Kings this summer, when Mike Brown was negotiating a contract extension, he told them this summer that he would not play for another coach, that he only wanted to play for Mike Brown. And if they were to get rid of Mike, then they were also getting rid of him. So he put an ultimatum in front of him, but you have to understand it's from a backing of he's been through so many head coaches to this point, he doesn't want to go through it again. As soon as the Sacramento Kings made the decision to move on from Mike Brown, whether it was the right decision or not, when they made that decision, they then ultimately signed off on the end of the De'Aaron Fox era here in Sacramento. So it's a lot, and there's even more that we haven't even gotten to. A lot has happened over the last month to get us to this point. Fans can boo or cheer however they want, but I encourage everybody to look in and make sure you understand the full story, because more details are coming out every single day. There are articles that dropped today with more details. It was a messy situation, a messy breakup, and it's certainly not black and white.
Well, Matt, I really appreciate you providing that context and depth. Particularly for the viewers that are listening, because I think a lot of what's been out there has been misconstrued, or, there's been misinformation getting out there about this. We've seen De'Aaron several times have to take to his Twitter account or X account in order to set the record straight on certain things. So right. I really appreciate that. You referenced the articles today, and one of the articles today that came out in ESPN particularly, De'Aaron Fox said his main demand, and maybe only main demand while he was here in Sacramento, was for the Kings to acquire a good wing, a dynamic wing. He said that verbatim in one of the ESPN articles. And last year, did the Kings acquire a dynamic wing? No. So, De'Aaron Fox was making sure that his requests were getting known to them. And if they did not meet that, then he was going to leave and go elsewhere. Now, Matt, I'm one of those people who believe two things can be right. Like, yes, De'Aaron Fox wanted to be in Sacramento. Yes, the Kings wanted to keep him. However, it's possible the Kings did not do enough to keep him, and when they didn't, De'Aaron Fox said, "Peace out." Yeah. Everything can be right. I don't know why it has to be, one extreme or the other extreme. I think that De'Aaron did what he could, given his situation, to hold out as much hope as he could to stay here in Sacramento. He said he wanted to play for one franchise his whole NBA career. That is a fact, and he wanted to stay here in Sacramento. But, like you said, when the Kings were not acquiring a wing, size and length, Mike Brown, the coach that he wanted, when they fired him abruptly, may I add, that was kind of the beginning of the end for De'Aaron Fox. So it is important to have this context there. When thinking back on this, Matt, is there anything, and just to play, hindsight's always 20/20.
Sure.
Is there anything you feel that De'Aaron Fox could have done differently over the last few weeks up into his departure out of here that maybe could have changed the way people perceived him or looked at this whole thing?
I'll say the same thing for Fox that I'll say for the Sacramento Kings organization. I think both sides cared a little bit too much about not being the bad guy. This is a business. Ultimately, it's a business. Wins and losses matter. Money is involved, and a lot of it. The Sacramento Kings didn't want to be the bad guy that traded away their franchise player, and De'Aaron Fox didn't want to be the bad guy that said, "Peace out, Sacramento, I'm out of here," right? And by doing that, both of themselves made themselves even more of a bad guy by being a little bit disingenuous. I do think there are elements of what De'Aaron Fox has said that are a bit disingenuous, but I also understand that De'Aaron, he might say that he did not request a trade. I mean, we're talking semantics at this point. Maybe he did not request a trade, but clearly things got to a point after Mike Brown was fired, and specifically the Kings informed Rich Paul, De'Aaron's agent, that they were listening to trade offers. that De'Aaron got to a point where once he got that information, he and Rich were like, okay, now let's think about ideal destinations. San Antonio is where we want to end up. So no, De'Aaron did not go to the Sacramento Kings and say, trade me. De'Aaron did not have his agent go to the Sacramento Kings and say, I want out of here. It's very different from like what Deebo Samuel just did with the San Francisco 49ers. That did not happen. But once the circumstances got to a point of pretty much no return, then De'Aaron steps forward and goes, okay, yeah, I want out of here. Or it's the writing's on the wall. Get me out of here, and I want to go to San Antonio specifically. Now, in doing that, it does tie the hands of the Sacramento Kings a little bit. But the Kings also have to aware that they provided De'Aaron with the rope, right? You put yourself in a position over 2 years where you did not improve upon this relationship. You fired Mike Brown. You didn't talk about it for months. You had De'Aaron Fox answer questions about it and take the blame for it. You put yourself in a position to where De'Aaron would get to a point where he would go, F y'all, like I'm out of here and I want to go where I want to go. That's where we got to. It was an ugly breakup. So yes, by choosing the San Antonio Spurs, by getting Rich Paul involved, and Rich Paul is a genius agent, this is what he does. Yeah. He knows what he's doing, right? They typically get what they want. This is a players' league. By doing that, it hurt the Sacramento Kings 100%. And I know that's what a lot of Kings fans are upset with, and that's where a lot of Kings fans are going to come in here and boost De'Aaron because they're about the name on the front, not the name on the back. And ultimately, by De'Aaron doing what he did, it did negatively impact the Sacramento Kings to some extent. However, the organization also has to look into the mirror and go, we let it get to this point. And so, again, both sides tried to be the good guy, didn't want to be the one to say we're the one that's trading Fox or we're the one that wants out of Sacramento. They both tried to play nice, and it put themselves into a position where De'Aaron got what he wanted. The Kings got what they wanted in Zach LaVine, but both of them kind of had to be a little bit disingenuous to do it.
And the one thing I want to contextualize on top of that, Matt, is at the end of the day, yes, these people are athletes. We feel that we have an attachment to them because they play for the city that we're in and they play for the team that we're diehard fans of. At the end of the day, these athletes also are human beings, and they have to do what's best for themselves, right, for their families, for their brands. You know, so that's one important thing that I feel is missing out of all this is De'Aaron has to do what's best for him, Matt. You referenced earlier that he's entering his prime, or in his prime. He does not want to waste the best years of his life being in a situation that's not helpful or that's not helping him or helping his cause. It's kind of like if I would ask anyone out there, would you stay in a relationship with someone if you came every day giving your all, putting your best forward, doing everything that you can to elevate this relationship and everything that it is, only to have them not meet you where they're at? You would probably leave the relationship after a while because you want to be a place not only where you feel valued, but where you also feel you can elevate together and win together. And ultimately, that's what it came down to. It's a business at the end of the day. He's paid a lot of money, but at the end of the day, he has to do what's best for him. And that was ultimately get out and join forces with a young budding superstar in Victor Wembanyama and see if they can do something.
Well, and tonight hopefully provides a little bit of closure. Like, I'm of the belief that ultimately, I'm of the belief that the San Antonio Spurs long-term are going to be in a better position than the Sacramento Kings. But right now, the Spurs are essentially bowing out of a playoff race with the loss of Victor Wembanyama. The Sacramento Kings are in the thick of it, right? If we're talking about tonight's game specifically, there's a lot of storylines. There's a lot of emotions. The beginning of the game, there's going to be a lot of emotions. The tribute video that we expect is coming, going to be a lot of emotions. But once the actual basketball game starts and takes place and that all starts going down, the Sacramento Kings have to be aware that this is a game that they have to go and get. Beginning on Sunday, Kevin, they take on the Los Angeles Clippers, a team that's right in the thick of it with them in this playoff battle right now. Next week on Thursday, they play the Golden State Warriors. The Kings win that game, they'll have the tiebreaker over Golden State. But this Sunday begins pretty much a hell stretch, if I can say that, where there are going to be a lot of really good teams. The New York Knicks, the Boston Celtics, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Oklahoma City Thunder, all are going to come through this building over the next couple of weeks. These are games that are going to be very difficult. It's a sink or swim moment. If you're not ready to go, you're going to drown and could fall out of a playoff spot that you want to be in. So the Kings have to be aware that in a game like tonight, taking on a team like San Antonio that, yes, has De'Aaron Fox, and you can't take them lightly, but you should be beating them. Tonight carries a lot more weight than just a return of a former player.
And, you know, as we kind of wrap this up, we talked about the distractions tonight. Of course, De'Aaron Fox returning. Also, something else you have to remember too, like you said, no Monk, no Sabonis, but also another kind of, I don't want to call it a distraction, but something else, another storyline coming into this game is Luke Laus, the assistant coach who worked so close with De'Aaron Fox
Going to Florida State.
over his last few years. Yes, he's someone else who's another storyline coming into tonight's game. He's going to take the head coaching job at Florida State, or is expected to. I guess they haven't formally put it out there yet. But you look at all of this stuff going around coming into today, just the last 24 hours with his organization, and then it's like, Matt, oh yeah, the Kings also still have to come out and play a basketball game tonight and win in a highly contested West right now. When you look at game 6 through 9 and how close, or 6 through 10, shall I say, and how close everyone is. So, like you said, the Kings are going through the gamut coming up next week, going to get some very tough competition. So these are the games that you really need to win and check off, so then when you do go to Boston or some of the more difficult teams, you can afford to lose some of those games down the stretch because you put yourself in a good position, which starts with winning a game like this tonight.
Well, look, two things can be true ultimately for tonight. De'Aaron Fox can come back, get his moment, whether it's positive or negative. De'Aaron Fox is a guy that we know when he's motivated, if he's pissed off especially.
You don't want Matt Fox.
We know how he can ball. And there's going to be a version of De'Aaron Fox that wants to stick it to the Sacramento Kings a little bit tonight, even if they traded him to the place that he wanted to go to. You're going to get that level of De'Aaron Fox. But you can still face that level of Fox and still win this game comfortably. If the Sacramento Kings continue to play the basketball that they just played on this road trip, I know they're coming off of a disappointing loss in Denver, a really hard-fought game, but they were in control for a vast majority of their game. It's my opinion that this Kings team is playing their best basketball of the season right now. You carry that over into tonight, you continue to play that way, I really like the Sacramento Kings' chances to win this game regardless of what De'Aaron Fox does.
Yeah, I definitely think this is a game that the Kings can win. If De'Aaron gets
win.
If De'Aaron gets his, that's great. As long as for the Kings, they also get the W at the end of the day.
Right.
Like you said, both of those things can happen. I have to wrap things up right now because we are getting ready to, we got a couple of minutes left on here, on this show here for you guys. So, just one other thing I wanted to look at. You talked about the coaching changes, De'Aaron Fox having 4 different coaches, 5 actually if you include interims, throughout his tenure here. Now that Luke Laus is obviously going to be leaving as well, when you look at this team, actually I'm just receiving word right now that De'Aaron Fox is on the court, so we're going to step out of the way real quick so we can get a good, he's over there signing autographs right now. And
that's one thing he's always done too. Fox has always been a man of the people here in Sacramento. Every single game he'll take extended time to speak to fans, sign autographs, and make sure they're showing the love that he's received from them.
And that's what you want to see out here.
And there he is with Luke Laus, too.
There you go.
His buddy and Luke, who's going to be the head coach of the Florida State here very, very shortly. The two of them had a really, really close relationship. Luke Laus is the guy that went with De'Aaron Fox on his honeymoon and worked with him on his game a couple of off seasons ago. So that's a really important relationship.
Well, that just shows his dedication, and it's good to see the smiles right there with De'Aaron Fox and some of his former staff that he worked with the Sacramento Kings. One of the things that De'Aaron had talked about earlier during shoot-around is just the fans. This guy grew up here. He was 19 years old when he came here as a rookie. And, to see him back here smiling in good spirit, now as a grown man who's, 27 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So, and actually, Matt, I can hear fans to the left screaming De'Aaron to get a look at him.
Well, look, he said Sacramento raised him. That's one of the things he said. Like, he matured. He became a man here. He came here as a teenager, I believe, and has developed into this 27-year-old star in the league, started his family here, has 2 beautiful kids here. So this is an important homecoming for him for a lot of reasons off the court. And one of the things he said he loved about Sacramento, too, is that he could be a family man here. I remember he went to China this past offseason with Steph Curry as part of the Curry brand promotional tour, and he got to experience the sensational superstar that Curry is and the treatment of that.
Oh, yeah.
And he said he don't want any of that. Like, he likes that he could go around town here in Sacramento, go out to dinner with his family, go somewhere with his wife, and he would receive love from fans, but he wouldn't get followed and dogged or anything like that. So Sacramento has been very important to him. I hope he has that closure that he needs tonight, and then ultimately it's all basketball in the end.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting, just to kind of wrap this up, one of the questions I asked him earlier today during shoot around, out of all the memories he's made in this arena, and we know Fox has a lot of memories that he's made here. I asked him what his favorite memory was, and with almost no hesitation, Matt, he talked about game one of that 2023 playoff series against the Golden State Warriors and what it meant to the city, what it meant to the fans, and just the energy in this arena when he came out here. And Matt, I don't know if it's too far-fetched to say, I kind of think this game has that kind of anticipation feel. Not necessarily as big as a playoff game, but just with De'Aaron returning tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be an energy in the building, but nothing like what that game one was. I mean, that game one was special, and De'Aaron was a massive part of what made that return to the postseason possible, ending the longest playoff drought in NBA history. So he'll always have that moment here in the Golden One Center that fans will always be appreciative of. Certainly I will be appreciative of. That was a long time coming.
Yeah, it definitely was. Well, guys, it's time to wrap things up here. Want to remind you that after the game tonight, you can tune in to the Locked On Kings podcast, hosted by this man, Matt George. He will have all the deets on there, the good, the bad, the ugly. He will also have some post-game sound from De'Aaron Fox after the game as well, so please be sure to tune into that. Of course, we will have a recap in our 11 o'clock broadcast tonight as well for you to tune into. But you know, you can see us on ABC 10 Plus and wherever you stream. Here at the Golden One Center, I'm Kevin John. This is Matt George. We will see you guys later on ABC10.com or on TV on ABC 10. We'll throw it back over to De'Aaron Fox as we get out of here.